biggest myth is that people think obesity or gaining weight is due to self-control. People think that people who are obese, it's their fault. And to be honest with you, people have sort of come to think of it of themselves like something's wrong with me. I have no self-control. I can't stop eating, and they think it's their fault. But the reality is that it is a chronic disease. Nobody chooses to be obese.
Dr. Sakowitz, I have been following you for quite some time, and it's a pleasure to have you on Disrupt for Good today. Thank you so much for joining me. I want to have you give our audience a little bit of a backstory and some sort of an understanding on what you do, because I think it's so unique and very different than what traditional people or doctors do within your field, if that's okay for you to go into initially
Sure.
right now.
Sure. So just what I do. So I started doing this 20 years ago before weight loss or obesity was like sexy, before all these great medications came out. And I started basically because I was really interested in it. I love the subject. For me, I struggled with my weight my whole life. And I always was a really good student, and I had, straight A's, but I couldn't get this weight thing under control. So I sort of did like a deep dive on my own while I was in medical school, when I started my residency, and I was just personally interested in it. And anything I could get my hands on to read at that point, there wasn't as much information about obesity as there is today. But I started getting my hands on anything I could and just reading all about it, and just realizing that it's really, really complex. It's not an easy calories in, calories out. And it really, as we know today, is a disease. And it was just starting to, that was sort of coming up when I started doing my residency. It wasn't really a considered disease until the early 2000s. Anyway, so because I was interested in it, and of course you always sort of navigate to where what you like to do. I decided that after my residency, which was in pediatrics, that I was going to do mostly weight management with one of the other pediatric cardiologists when I was in Brooklyn, when I was doing when my first job after residency. So I was an academic pediatrician, and I was also doing obesity medicine. And that's really where I got really started in it. So in Brooklyn, it's really like ground zero of obesity. Like 1 out of every 2 children are obese, and they really suffer from all the comorbidities that we read about. So I kind of like got a lot of hands-on experience. I started, just loving what I was doing. And at that time, we had no medications. So we had medications to treat, prediabetes or different medical conditions. But we really had to really focus on lifestyle interventions, behaviors, environment, because really that's all we had at that time. So that's really where I sort of started getting really interested in, I use all that stuff that I learned very early on in today's world, even though today we have all the medications. Yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. It was through my personal struggles. Like when I really struggled with it. And once I sort of like found out what I was doing wrong and how I was thinking about it, I realized like this was my calling. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to help people. I want to help families. Just like stop thinking about it in the old way, and just like give them a way in order to be healthy for life, and not have to, be thinking about this for the rest of their life. So I sort of have really dedicated my entire career to this.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I feel like so many people do not think about food or really understand the ways to really eat healthily, and otherwise they will punish themselves sometimes after they have
Oh, a
a
100%.
specific meal or whatever, or they go on vacation. So it's very interesting that you say that. What's one myth about metabolism or weight that you wish would finally vanish or go away from the public conversation?
Okay, so I think the biggest myth is that people think obesity or gaining weight is due to self-control. People think that people who are obese, it's their fault. And to be honest with you, people have sort of come to think of it of themselves like something's wrong with me. I have no self-control. I can't stop eating, and they think it's their fault. But the reality is that it is a chronic disease. Nobody chooses to be obese. Nobody chooses this, and it is nobody's fault. It's a very complex interaction of your genetics, behaviors, environment, the way your hormones work. It is such a complex like area, and I think for so many years people blamed it on the person themselves. I even knew from my own personal experience. I used to think something was wrong with me. Like, how come I can get straight A's in school, but I can't get this under control? And little did I know that my genetics, my brain was telling my body how much fat should be stored, and that's really what was running the show. It was out of my control. It was an unconscious, part of my brain that was doing this, and I think that is the biggest myth when it comes to people with obesity.
Yeah, that's big. I feel like people really need to let that sink in and
Hmm.
really understand that. And also, I feel like people compare themselves all the time to others that are around them because a lot of people that we are surrounded by sometimes are so skinny and have the fast metabolisms and can eat whatever they want and have carbs all day long and eat the McDonald's and it won't even, add a pound or whatever. So it is very interesting because sometimes people get wrapped up in that
Hmm.
aspect as well. It can be very
Hmm.
hard and triggering for that
Hmm.
person as well.
Absolutely, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. What's a small realistic change someone can make over the next so-called few days or a month or whatever it is that they want to start making some changes that
Okay.
you see consistently improve energy or weight over time?
Okay, so the number one thing I tell my patients to do, like the first thing, first day, is to decrease or completely eradicate all sugary beverages. So juices, sodas, these things, no one needs juice. Kids don't need juice when they're growing up. They need fruit with fiber in it, but they don't need juice. And I usually refer to juice as liquid candy. And I think, when you drink calories, you don't get satiated, so you don't get full from them. And so, if you're gonna consume calories, you might as well have those calories be making you more full. And I believe it causes more cravings, and it's just extra calories, and nobody needs them. So the first thing I would say is, if it's kids, I would tell parents, don't buy it in your house. Adults, don't buy your house when you're out. Try to drink water, seltzer. Again, it's not like you can never have a drink, but really try to limit them. It shouldn't be something you're drinking every day. It should be more like a sometimes food or sometimes drink. And when it comes to kids, we don't want to, we don't want to call anything good or bad. So we don't want to say the juice is bad because kids are going to drink juice, once in a while. We don't want to make it forbidden fruit, but we just don't want to make it available in their house or part of their everyday routine. And kids learn habits when they're young. When their mom is giving them orange juice every single morning, then it becomes a habit. Then they're just used to drinking juice every day. So I think early on, parents can start off on the right foot and just don't introduce it. If it's already introduced in a household, stop buying it. And as far as adults is concerned, the same thing. Don't buy it in your house when you're out. Don't drink it, even when you're drinking alcoholic drinks. Try to mix it with a non-sugary beverage, a seltzer, or a glass of wine, or just a straight vodka martini or something like that. I think probably that's the biggest thing you could do, and the easiest thing. You could just kind of eliminate that.
I was about to ask you actually, funny enough, like what do those of us who are over 21 years old, I'm sure you get
Mhm.
asked that many times, and you
All the
see
times, of
people
course.
who are
Yes.
above that age needing some assistance and guidance with
Mhm.
how to help with the going out scene because
Yeah,
those calories can add up. I mean,
100%.
I see it myself. I'm in New
Mhm.
Orleans or I'm in the city, and those frozen sugary cocktails, those are
Those are the worst.
the
Yes.
worst.
The
I
worst.
personally
Yeah.
don't like them. They are the worst hangovers, but my friends sometimes will indulge, and I think it's the worst.
The worst. I
Yep.
totally agree. That's like it's an easy thing to just avoid. You can still go out, you can still drink, but just don't drink the sugary beverages. Don't get the Red Bull mixed in with the drinks. Don't get the Coke. Don't get any of the juices. The frozen drinks are horrible, like the pina coladas, the strawberry daiquiris, and all the other fancy things I have today. Just stick to the basics. Stick to like I said, like a glass of wine, a light beer, or just a vodka with either straight or with club soda with some lime. Those things would, you're still going out, you're still holding your drink, but you're not getting all the sugary stuff. And then also remember, a lot of times after people drink, they end up eating because they're hungry, they're out, they don't really care at that point. So at that point, I always tell my patients also, like, don't go for the pizza. If you're hungry, you come home, have a piece of fruit, try to make a healthy decision at that point.
Right.
But and like what you said, like college kids and even adults, I see a lot of adults, and I have to tell them the same thing with the drinking because it's a big part of our society, right? Like we go
100%.
out to socialize, and that's what adults do. So I think if you could just kind of eliminate those or limit those, then that's probably the easiest things to do.
Yes. So I'm going to shift gears.
Okay.
In cities like New York and northern New Jersey, which I know I'm pretty sure you are working now with some people in New York as well,
Yes.
wellness has almost become a status symbol. Do you
100%.
see people chasing optimal health in ways that actually work against their bodies? And how do you help recalibrate that mindset?
Okay, so when you ask me that question, the first thing that comes to mind, first of all, I totally agree. I see it on a daily basis. I see even my friends asking me questions. They see things on the TV, on the news, on TikTok, on Instagram, and I think the best example right now are peptides.
Yeah.
So peptides are everyone's talking about them, thinking that they are the cure all for everything. And the reality is that these things have really not been tested in humans. We have no clinical trials. Doctors, when we go to medical school, we're taught to practice evidence-based medicine, and there's no evidence. And it's. I personally wouldn't take a peptide. I wouldn't prescribe a peptide. I think you're going through very like rocky waters by doing that. If anyone told you to, get a peptide online, if you were to go to that website, it would say not made for human use. These things are made for laboratories at this point. I don't know what's going on politically right now. They may start being made in compounding pharmacies. I know there's a lot goings on with that. But for right now, I wouldn't tell anyone to consume it, or I wouldn't prescribe them. But I think and like I also I'm on all these social media channels, and it's being made to look like they're miracle drugs. And you see a lot of influencers who look really good, who may not have an MD at their they may be weightlifters or health coaches or people, big bloggers who have a big following who are taking these things. And they're really not doing a very good job for the public because I don't see any board certified doctors who are doing this. And if they are, they're functional. It's really, like I said, it's not evidence-based medicine. So I think those are being made to look like they're going to solve everything. And I'm not against all peptides. I mean, of course, that's one of the things I prescribe all day long, which is my GLP-1s. Those are all peptides also.
Right.
It's just peptides that everyone's talking about, the desmorel and all those. There's about 20 of them, that people, they're made to look very sexy on TikTok, and you see the people taking them and they look good. And everyone wants to start taking them because they think that they're going to get ahead of, that they're going to miss out if they don't
Yeah.
take it. Something can happen. But the truth is, we have so many awesome tools today, in the longevity field. I think the most important thing is building muscle, eating healthy, working out. Those things are the most important thing for your health. I don't think you need to look at those peptides. In order to get healthier than you are or to stay younger, anti-aging. I know that stuff is really exploding today, and it's really not based on, like I said, any evidence.
Right. And it's interesting that you say that also because I feel like social media does create such a false representation and misconceptions for others who are just really trying to learn and figure out what to really do and suit them the best way out there. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, people are misguided and it's sad.
Yeah.
How many times a week do you think people should go to the gym? Some people I feel like don't have really an understanding on what to really do.
Okay, so I think people should be active every day. You don't necessarily have to work out and do strength training every day, but I think you should be doing, you know, 10,000 steps a day, being active. As far as strength training is concerned, I tell my patients a minimum of 3 or 4 times a week.
Okay.
I think it's really, really important. I think
100%.
um, earlier in life, I think people sort of were trying to do more cardio and less strength training. And I think today, I think, strength training is even, either just as or more important
More
than cardio.
important. I think it's
Yeah, I
so
think
important.
I think muscle is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Doing resistance training, being strong, those are going to be predictors of longevity. That's the best thing.
For patients considering medication, there's often a mix of hope, guilt, fear. How do you help someone sort through this emotionally before making this decision?
Okay. Great question. I think the most important thing is, first of all, listening to what they are fearful about and educating. Because when you start a medication, first of all, you need to know what to expect. The medications are awesome, but not every single person loses as much weight as they think they're going to lose on them. And so we have to set very, just like to give them expectations that so they don't like wonder what happened. So we know that these medications on average can lose somewhere between 10 to 20, a little bit, now the better medications are coming out even in the mid 20th percentage. Surgery, for example, we get a little higher weight loss, which is maybe 30%. But again, these are averages. So I always, explain these to my patients, especially certain medications give you more weight loss than others. We talk about what kind of side effects to expect, and if you get those side effects, how they can improve them from home. And I think the most important thing that I tell my patients is that I explain to them how this is a disease. There's nothing to feel guilty about. If you had high blood pressure or diabetes or asthma, you wouldn't feel that you're taking the easy way out by using an inhaler or using insulin or taking a pill to for your blood pressure to go down. And there's nothing to feel bad about. And these medications are awesome, but they're not they don't do the work for you. They help decrease that set point in your brain that your brain is telling your body how much fat to store. It helps decrease your amount of food you can eat. It's by slowing down digestion, and it really takes away the food noise. So it makes it easier to eat healthy. But the key is you still have to eat healthy. You still have to exercise. You still have to do the strength training. All the hard work you still have to do. These medications are for people who are obese, who aren't able to regulate your body the same way as people who are not obese. So I really explain to them there's no guilt here. This is a disease which deserves chronic treatment. You're not taking the easy way out. As a matter of fact, a lot of my patients who start these medications, it's harder now because now they have to meal prep. They have to make sure they're eating healthy. They have to make sure they're eating protein, eating their protein goals, eating, buying fruits and vegetables, getting their 10,000 steps every day, doing all the things that I really, make sure my patients are doing. While before that, before they were taking medication, they just didn't really care what they ate. They were sitting on the couch. They didn't, that's actually the easy way out by not losing the weight. But these medications just help people who have this disease. And so, when I explain it to people like that, it really tries to, take the guilt away. As far as the fear, I try to take the fear away as much as I can by explaining how they work, exactly what to expect, the foods to avoid so you don't get very sick from them. And then, like I said, the expectations, I tell them exactly what to expect as far as weight loss is concerned. And that it doesn't work for everybody. So, I try to take care of all of their concerns before they even start the medication. So there's no surprises.
That's awesome. And I like how you compare it to someone who might be in treatment for asthma or another condition, because I feel like that really does put things into perspective for the patient that this treatment is just as important for them, like an inhaler or any other type of medication and any other condition that someone might be facing. So that really is great. I liked that a lot. Um,
Mhm.
Weight loss medications are everywhere now, social media, headlines, even at
Mhm.
dinner table conversations. People are like, is this
Everywhere.
person on it? Is that person on it? From a physician's perspective, what do you think people misunderstand most, I guess, about the GLP ones that are out there? I guess we went into this a little bit about, people that
Mhm.
actually have chronic conditions and require GLP ones, but are there any other misconceptions that people really do not
Um,
understand that are out
I think
there?
I mean, I think we touched on a lot of the points. I think, some people want to take these medications for like 2, 3 months before an occasion to lose like 5 or 10 pounds.
Right.
Um, and I try to explain to them, these are for chronic usage. These are for not for that last 5 or 10 pounds. Although a lot of people would like to be taking them, this is the big
Yeah.
talk. Who wants to be on them? But really, they are for people who with obesity who need chronic treatment, and the medications that they come in, like we'll talk about, like tirzepatide or semaglutide. There's many different dosages, so everyone always has to start in the lowest dosage, which is not the maintenance dose. So it may take 3, 4, 5 months for you to even get up to that, to a maintenance dose. And so it's not a short-term thing. So I think that's a big misconception. People want to get on it for like for a week, like I need to like lose 5 pounds for the wedding. Like, and I actually had people asking me about it too. Like, can I just get it short term? So I think that's definitely a misconception. And then, like, kind of what we talked about, like it's definitely, people think it's, some people think that it could be the easy way out of doing it. And I think those are probably the two most common misconceptions, that you can do it short term, or people who without obesity. Those are probably the biggest that I
Okay.
see.
And people all have different interpretations of what a healthy or well balanced diet looks like.
Mhm.
With so many programs out there like Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, keto, paleo, whatever's out there, what are some simple habits people can implement to stay healthy without committing to a specific diet?
Okay. So I don't like diets. I don't prescribe any diets. I try to make it really simple. So
Yeah.
I really, and this is works for all my patients. I tell them, every time you eat a meal, make sure you have a protein. Make sure half your plate is fruits and vegetables. If you have a carb, and carbs aren't bad, by the way. You can have a carb every meal, and I never say that that's the wrong thing or bad thing, but there's good or bad portions of carbs. So, you want to have a reasonable portion for yourself. You don't want to overdo it. And I think, of course, you always want to have a little fat too. Fat, people shouldn't be afraid of eating fat also. So a balanced diet, and try to have your diet mostly real food. You really get into trouble with a lot of the processed foods. They're manufactured so that they become addictive. So you want to eat more than one portion, and these things don't fill you up. So try to have your diet full of real food. The 3 meals a day, like I said it to you. Try to drink water. Not stay away from the sugary beverages. I think if you can make it simple like that, you'd be successful.
Wonderful. Love that and think that was great. Um,
Okay.
a
Any
lot
other
of
questions?
That was really good. A lot of entrepreneurs and high performing professionals swear by intermittent fasting. From what you've seen medically, does it actually improve health or can it sometimes do more harm than good?
Okay. So this is controversial. So you'll talk to some doctors who prescribe it and love it. There is data that says it will help with certain conditions.
Yeah,
Um, I look at it from a little bit different perspective, because I look at it that it's a diet. That
right.
my theory is that if you're hungry, you should eat. So if somebody wakes up in the morning at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning and they're hungry, like, they shouldn't be walking around hungry. So my number one thing I always tell my patients is honor your hunger. If you're hungry, like it's time to eat. If if somebody is not hungry and they're truly not hungry and they want to wait till 1 o'clock in the afternoon and they're not doing a lot of activity, I don't tell anyone they can't. I let my patients do what they want to do, but I'm not a big advocate of it. I don't prescribe it to anybody because I don't like cutting off the time to eat because I think it can sort of drive a little bit of food insecurity, whereas like I better eat now, even if I'm not that hungry, because once it's after 8 o'clock, then I might get really hungry. So
Right.
I look at it more as like a diet. But like I said, there are some studies, especially people with like insulin resistance, prediabetes, diabetes, like that kind of thing. There is some data that shows it's helpful, but there's anything works. All these things, there's a lot of different things that work with these things, but the idea is that are you gonna live your whole life eating like that with this intermittent fasting?
No.
Another point is I have had a lot of patients that come to me. And everyone who comes to me, we always talk about their history. How have they lost weight before? What have they done? What was successful for them? What wasn't successful for them? And I do have a bunch of patients who have come to me who have lost a considerable amount of weight with intermittent fasting, but then they've gained it back. And I always say, well, what happened? And they stopped intermittent fasting, and they for whatever reason. And so, unless you're going to do it for life, like I don't think that's a way to lose weight. Because it's you're not if you're not going to do anything for life, then you're going to go back to what you were doing before, then your weight's going to eventually come up again. So if somebody wants to do it, it's fine with me. I do have some patients who are doing it not because I told them to do it, but that's just how they like to eat. They like to eat their meals during that time, especially when you're on these medications. You're not that hungry, so it works for some people, but I don't prescribe it. I don't tell people to do it. It just sometimes happens naturally.
Right.
So
I think it just to me, it just sounds like it's it's not a sustainable approach to weight loss or really a successful way to weight loss. The
I
way
agree.
that you were describing earlier, the way that people should live their lives with 3 meals a day of protein, carb, fat, whatever it is on their plate, is just a very easy way for someone to navigate and approach food throughout their day to day life, which is
Hmm.
really nice.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. And do you think a lot of the time when I have guests on, we talk about brand, personal brand, all the things that they do to really bring in what they can do to enhance their business or their own personal brand. I have found you through your Instagram, Healthy Lifeways. I think now you switched the name over to your personal name, but I love the content that you posted. I think it's really great because it inspires others to eat healthy and to live a healthy life. You posted your workouts, your food, the life, things that you do with your kids, which I think is wonderful. Do you think that some of your clients have come through from Instagram or any of that, circulated or any of the things that you posted have really come through to your clients or resonated to your clients before, and that's why you
Yeah,
do
I
it?
think so. It's funny because I do it for my patients because I get so much great feedback and they really enjoy it. They enjoy me seeing what I'm eating, what I'm doing, living a healthy lifestyle. So I do it for that reason. Obviously, I'm not selling any products. I'm not making any money with my Instagram. But I will tell you that so many of my patients have found me on the internet.
That's
So many
interesting.
from all over, from from all over the place. And it's great how social media works, how I guess people who would never have heard of me have, can hear about me now. But yeah, I think it's a great way to obviously get your name out there. I wish I had more time to do it and really spend time on it because I have fun doing it. Just usually so busy, half the time I plan to post like what I'm eating for a meal. I'm like, I forgot, like, if I'll be like involved with it or I'll be like busy with patients and, like literally probably like twice as many times as I post. Like I'm like, oh God, I forgot to post.
Right.
Um, So, but I enjoy it, and like I said, I really do it for my patients because I think I know that it inspires them. Even, even if it's one person, and when they see me doing Pilates at 6:30, it's like, oh, you know what? If she's there, like I could be doing that too.
Yeah,
So I think all those little things that I do, I think it helps people. That, when you see someone else doing, you're like, oh, if that's what she's having for lunch, I could do that too. So, I think, I want to do more of that. That's definite. That's definitely something on my bucket list that I want to work on. But I'm going to try to find time this year actually to do that more.
that's
But yeah,
wonderful.
I think a lot of people have definitely found me that way.
Yeah, it's very motivating. Looking ahead 10 years, what do you think we'll look back on and say, wow, we really got that wrong when it comes to weight and metabolic health? And I do think that you are really good at looking like looking into the future and kind of looking back and saying, like, I already predicted this and like I knew that this was going to happen or something like that. So I kind of feel like that's going to be something that's going to happen.
So I think we're in like a new chapter right now with all these GLP-1 medications. I think we're just sort of like starting. There are a lot of different medications that are coming down the pipeline that like I know are brewing. There may be in like phase 1 trials. So for a phase 1 to 2 to 3, until it gets out to the public, it's years. So I'm actually very excited. There, right now we're targeting 1, 2, and 3 receptors. We have the GLP-1s, we have the GIPs, we have the glucagon, we have different amylin, we have all different types of things that are really sort of honing in on different hormones we have in our body, in our gut brain axis. So we have a lot of hormones in our GI system, and they go with the brain. And I think we're just going to see more of that with better results. They're going to start combining them all together. We're going to get better and better results. I do think that the future for bariatric surgery is doesn't look good. I say that from, I think I'm already seeing that. Like I know, like when I first started doing this before we had any medications, we were doing a lot more bariatric surgery. We're doing a lot less now because we have such amazing medications that do the work for you. So I think in 10 years, we're going to be virtually doing like much less. And I think the agents that we have for weight loss are going to far exceed what we believed that we were going to be able to see. Like probably the same results as if they had surgery. And we'll look back and say, "Oh my God, we used to cut people open and like tie their this." Like I think that's where we're going to stand, in the future. And just like I said, better medications that are sort of doing the same thing, but they're just going to be better than what we have now.
Wow. It's gonna be great. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what
Yeah,
you get out there.
me too.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dr. Sakowitz, thank you so much for taking the time
My
today. I know
pleasure,
you're
of course.
busy, and I thank you so much. And I'm sure our audience is gonna love this episode. So thank you so much for taking
My
the time.
pleasure. My pleasure. All right. Take care, Dylan.
You too. All
Okay.
right.
Bye.